All right, this video is going to walk you through the fillet and chamfer cube. So it's an intermediate modeling PDF, or the dimensions. So if you look, this is the assignment right here, but all of the dimensions and information is actually in the fillet and chamfer cube, or I'm sorry, in the intermediate modeling assignment. So if we go in here, this talks about how to make fillets and chamfers. And then down here, we actually get the fillet. It's supposed to be fillet and chamfer cube. So here's all of our dimensions, everything right here. So it's a 4x4x4 cube. Okay, we are going to add a 1-inch fillet to all the outside edges, and it's going to have 1-inch hole through all three sides. And then we're going to add a 0.5-inch chamfer to each of the holes. So that's what we're going to do right here. So we're going to make a new document. So this is going to be our first document that is in the intermediate modeling. So we're going to name this first and last name, intermediate modeling. Create the document. And we're going to rename our part studio. So we're going to call this our fillet and chamfer cube. And if we look back at the instructions, we can see that it's a 4x4x4 inch cube. So first thing we need to do is make sure that we're in inches, because in our last assignment, our dimension assignment, we switched the workspace to metric to millimeters. So we're just going to make sure that it's in inches. So if we come up here to the 3 bars, we'll go to workspace units, and we can see mine's in inches. If yours is not, go ahead and just switch it back to inches. All right, so let's start by making that 4x4x4 inch cube. So we'll go ahead and sketch. Doesn't really matter where. And I'm going to go ahead and make a center point rectangle, because I always like to create things around the origin right here. So I'll go ahead and click right on the origin. I'll make this 4x4. So type that in. It's 4x4. You can redimension if you want. I kind of had mine at a weird angle, but definitely 4x4. And we're going to extrude that. And it's a cube, so we will extrude it 4 inches. Now, little trick here, if I want to make that origin the center point of the entire cube, what I could do is make this symmetric, and now you'll see that that origin point is the center of the cube. If I didn't do that, it would still make a cube the same size, but then the origin wouldn't be in the center, and having that origin in the center is going to make things a little bit easier for us. So I check symmetric, it's 4 inches, we're on solid, and we're on new. So check those 4 things: solid, new, symmetric, and 4 inches. Then we're good to go. So the next thing I'm going to do is make the holes. So this has a hole going through all 3 ways. So what we're going to do is go ahead and create a sketch. Remember, we're going to sketch on the face, not on the plane. We want to actually sketch on the face of the object. So we've got our sketch. Come up, make a circle, and I'm going to lock onto the origin right here. And we'll make this 1 inch. Looks kind of small, but it is the right size. And I'm just going to go ahead and make all of these holes before. Actually, let's do them one at a time. That's probably easier. So we've got our circle, so we'll get extrude, and I'm going to extrude. In this one, we need to remove. So make sure it says solid and remove, and I could either say blind 4 inches, or I could just say through all. Either will work. Okay, so just kind of rotate around a bit, make sure that it's going all the way through. Mine is, so we're good to go. So I'm going to do the same thing on this top plane, and here's why I did that symmetric, because it makes it really easy, because we have that origin in the center. So sketch on the top face of the cube, lock onto the origin, make our 1 inch circle, and again we're going to extrude. We want to make sure it's solid and remove and through all. That looks good. And we've got one more side. So we don't have to do this on all 6 sides, because it goes all the way through. It actually punches through there. All right, now we'll go to the right side. Same thing. Sketch on the face of the cube. 1 inch circle. Go. Extrude it. Make sure it's remove and through all. And now we got all of the holes. All right, so we have the cube with all the holes in it. Next thing we need to do is add our fillets. Okay, not pronounced fillet, that's steak. This is fillets. So we're going to get our fillet tool, and it's a 1-inch fillet. So we'll go ahead and set that to 1 inch. And what I'm going to do, oops, I'll check that, is we're not going to click on the face. So if I click on the face, you can see what it's actually doing is getting that center of the cube as well. I don't want that. So what I want is just to get all of the edges. And we're coming out just an inch, not more than that. So I'm just going to click on all 8. I'm sorry, not all 8, 12 of my edges. So I just have to orbit around, and we're going to get all 12 edges. So we need to get these side edges, the top edges, and the bottom edges. And we can't click on the face because that'll select that center circle there as well. We don't want that. So I got this one. I could have just selected the faces and done this before I actually made the holes, but this just makes it easier. All right, so I think that's all 12. So I'll go through. I know this has lines here. That's just showing the geometry. Those aren't actually modeled in there. So orbit around, looks like all of our corners are nice and round and smooth. So the last thing that we need to do is add our chamfer. So if we look at the last part here, each of our holes has a 0.5-inch chamfer. Now I know that when we drew the holes, we only had to do it 3 times because it punched all the way through. But here for the chamfer, we will actually have to add it to all 6. So I'll make sure we're at 0.5 and 45 degrees. And what I'm going to do is come through and just click on each hole. So we'll have to get all 6, 5, and 6. And there we go. So we'll go ahead and green check. And that's the fillet and chamfer cube. Now, one thing to check is that all of these holes are directly centered. So if I made a mistake on one of these, and maybe my circle was a little bit off, let me show you what I mean. So if this were a little bit off, so instead of 2, maybe I accidentally made it 1.9. Nope, it's not going to want to do that because there's a bunch of stuff based on that. But what you would see if it weren't centered, the circle would not come out to this point here. So the circle should meet right at the edge of that kind of square that comes around at that 1-inch square. But if your cube looks like this, you're good to go and you're all done. Awesome.